What's going on, guys? This is Skyhound, also known as Xavier Pierce. So, currently going to try to get the badge, and I'm only here for one day, but time-wise, that's where the problem is going to start, which means I have to go around from here and then from there. But as you can see, right behind me, that's for Anime Riverside. I'm only going there for one day. I have gone here once on both days, but circumstances have changed as of late. So I know that I'm not going to any panels. What I am going to try to go for is at least, seeing some of the card decorations, as you can sort of see on my right. And then from there, I'm going to try to see if I can meet up with at least a few of the voice actors, considering I am a huge Magic Knight Rayearth fan. There are a few things I'm going to be bringing with me, and then a few things I'll be, dropping off. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. So one thing I recall my friend telling me is that picking up the badge, it's around Main and 3rd, so I realized my approach was a little bit off. But besides that, there are a few things I was going to be trying to do, which is mainly the scavenger hunt. I've done it before, but I'll give you guys a rundown. What it is you basically have a few objectives you need to complete in order to get a badge, in this case a pin. You complete that one task, you get a badge. Then you get to the next one, you get another badge. Now, there are times where you actually get a bonus badge. So I'll be putting that later on in the description down below in terms of what goes on, so you guys get an idea. Hey guys, this is Skyhound. So I apologize if my voice is a little bit off, but a little bit under the weather here. Considering this vlog is just me giving my general thoughts and sharing a little bit of my experience here, I did only go for one day. This is the badge that I was given. So, as I mentioned on the little vlog bit though, I do kind of go over how the scavenger hunt actually does go. Again, I do kind of like give a general idea in terms of what I was doing. But I was there only for a certain number of hours. Now, considering the fact I also had a very limited amount of money, then that also depended on what I'd be able to spend it on. With that being said, there were at least 3 people I wanted to meet, plus the fact that I had to drop off a few things. So in addition to that, I also had to do the scavenger hunt. That gave me a little bit of time trying to figure out where it goes to, which place to go to first, etc., etc. After that, I also then did a little bit of shopping, which I will go over towards the end in terms of what I had bought. So status update, I'm just going to be picking up the badge in a bit. And also, I do recall, Colin K. Bass, as well as DJ Rivers. I came across them before when I first went here in 2022. Then I ran into them again at Power Morphicon in August on National Power Rangers Day. So that's twice already. And a quick side note. The area that I'm walking at right now, originally this is where they had the car design showcase in 2022. And knowing most of these people, they're going to just try to have to go from one way to the next. But, you'll see how this goes. So anyway, guys, as I was kind of like giving a little bit of my convention memories here, one of the people I was going to be meeting with is Cristina Vee. For those of you guys who know, she was in that Ladybug cartoon. play the titular character for a time. But one other thing I want to point out here is because of the fact that she also is the second voice actress of Sailor Mars. For you Mooney fans, she also was the co host of the podcast known as Anime TV. Johnny Young Bosch was the host. You kind of get the idea of where I'm going here. Power Rangers, if you guys are, thinking. Case in point, the line was a little long, but it was worth it, which then allowed me to break out this bad boy. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, she obviously remembered me, thankfully, because, we did get a chance to speak once via GalaxyCon. I don't recall which character she voices, but I'm going to take a wild guess. It's probably Kimberly in the Rita's Rewind video game. She asked me, am I familiar with it? I told her yes. Then she went on to ask, have you played it yet? I told her I only know of it. I've heard of it, but I haven't had time to check it out. Simple as that. Obviously, the picture cost me $40, but it was worth it. However, at the same time, that also cost me a little bit because Wendee Lee was the second one I wanted to meet. I'll get to that in a bit. But anyway, I wanted to do a quick, tribute to JDF since he's no longer here. He was a guest on that tabletop RPG, Power Rangers Hyper Force, in which Cristina is the first female Black Ranger. Obviously, I did inquire with her, what was it like, going on there, because she knew what I was getting at. And she said she actually enjoyed it. Once I got that squared away, then I went upstairs. Eventually, I went up to meet with my best friend first before I went to meet up with Melissa Fahn. He was over in Artist Alley. And of course, he has a certain way of trying to do certain things. But once we found each other, eventually we went over to those tables. Anyway, before I get to the next bit, I do want to let you guys know that I did bring a few things with me, one of them being a drawing that I made prior to going there. Okay, so this I actually bought off Etsy from a particular vendor, and when I was checking again on the website, he no longer carried those stickers. But case in point, Melissa Fahn is the voice actress who does Silverwolf. However, that is not the only reason why I went there. Yes, I went to drop these off. I let her have these two in particular. I kept this one, for those of you guys who are wondering. In addition, Melissa Fahn also voices a particular Digimon character who happens to be my favorite since I was a teenager, Rika Nonaka. For those of you Digimon fans who know who that character is, kudos to you, because she happens to be, I will admit I had a bit of a crush on Rika when I was a teen, still do. But in addition to that, she also voices Tata and Tatra. With that being said, that also meant I brought this along with me. Remember what I said about the drawing? This was the drawing I did. For those of you guys who are wondering, I'll show you guys the little bit of illustration in a bit. I based it from what I saw on the back of the manga. Okay guys, now that I got that part out of the way, just to clarify in terms of, art and all that, this right here, that's what I was trying to draw. Now, as for the symbols and the artwork, this is what I brought with me. As you can see, that's from the second box set. In addition, also brought this with me. Again, second box set. Now, as for the symbols, like you can see here, that's Umi's right there. That's what I tried to replicate. Did the same thing for Hikaru and Fu. Now, in terms of who voices what, Melissa Fahn, as I said already, she does Silverwolf, she does Rika Noranica from Digimon, as well as a few other characters that some of us know. Side note, like I said, she voices a particular Magic Knight Rayearth character. Tata and Tatra, that's how it's roughly pronounced. Anyway, Melissa, she voices both of those characters. The sister-in-law, Dorothy Fahn, she voices an original character from that anime. Context. Wendee Lee had a tweet on Twitter, which thankfully I found the darn receipt, because Dorothy replied to me on that. So there is a page from here where it only references the second season of the anime. They were not in the manga because they were original characters. One page, people, one page where they are referenced. But I'll show you guys in a bit. So in case you guys are wondering, right here. So the one that was voiced by Melissa Fahn, it's these two right here. They are from the world of Chizeta. Now, Barbara Goodson, who I have met, she voices this one right here, as well as another character, Alcione, for those of you guys who know that character. Simply put, Barbara Goodson, who fans from Power Rangers know as Rita Repulsa, she did two characters from Magic Knight Rayearth. Now you know. Sandy Fox, who does Chibiusa. For those of you guys who are wondering, Sandy Fox, the wife of Lex Lang, voices this character right here, Lady Asuka, who actually goes against Fu in terms of archery, for those of you guys who watch the anime. Now, there is a page, give me a moment, where it only references season 2 on one page. But anyway, again, in case you're wondering, yeah, that's actually from the manga right there. But again, that's mostly in reference to season 2. There is only one page right here. It took me a while to explain it to Wendee Lee. This page right here, people, that is the only reference to season 2 in the anime. Never do you see this in manga. This is the only time this was done in manga form. There is a page, and I will read it towards the end. Dorothy Fahn, the sister-in-law, voices this character. Now you guys get the reference. Okay, now that I got that little tidbit the way regarding media history here, there is one thing I wanted to bring up with Melissa, but I forgot, and considering the fact, I didn't have much, money as well as time. When I got over to Wendee Lee's booth, I told her that, I showed her the drawing I made. That was for her. There was also an acrylic chain I once bought from Japan in 2019 because, obviously, Digimon fans, as well as Power Ranger fans, the guy, Dave Mallow, fans know as the voice of Babu, as well as Angemon from Digimon. He is no longer with us. I discussed about it with Wendee Lee for a little bit. I gave her that keychain. because she voices TK in the anime. In addition, when I showed her these books, this as well as this, I mean, yeah, she was surprised. Obviously, I had to clarify. I mean, I know I pretty much remember word for word as we were discussing. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you also voiced Princess Emerald, yes? And she's like, yeah, that's true. I also did her voice as well. So as I was letting her go over the book, and eventually she didn't charge me, thank heavens, for those signatures. She asked me on the spelling of Princess Emerald. As we were discussing a bit about it, I spelled it as quickly as I could by memory. I told her that I did get a chance to speak with Lex Lang, and I mentioned one of her tweets that she did. But the thing was, since Lex Lang voiced High Priest Zagato, as well as Rayearth and Wyndham, the thing was that Wendee Lee also mentioned obviously Barbara Goodson because, well, considering, like I said, Barbara Goodson voiced Alcione, I did point out to Wendee that that Barbara Goodson voiced another character. And then I remembered, Sandy Fox voiced this particular character. So she knew that I understood, like in terms of what characters that they voiced in that anime. They did more than one for some of them. So as we were going over the anime a little bit, I was discussing a bit about, ADR and, did you guys ever record, roughly in the same room, or is that done separately? And she explained to me that when Lex Lang was doing his lines for Zagato, she comes in after he's done, does her bit, and it kind of gives the illusion via editing that they're roughly in the same room, but they're not. And obviously, I discussed with her about the last episode and how I knew that towards the end, we get the cruel twist. For those of you guys who don't know, Zagato and Princess Emerald are the doomed lovers. And so she kind of knew what I was talking about here. And I paraphrase a little bit of what was going on. Umi was going like, but isn't there any other way that we could, prevent this? And Clef is like, unfortunately, there isn't. And I pretty much told her, I was just surprised and shocked. And, she kind of like shared the same sentiment. But yeah, anyway, I got this signed by her for free. In addition to this one. Right here. That's the proof, ladies and gents. Originally, I was thinking of letting her take a picture of this, though, in case she needed like a reference. But I know that Lex Lang, quick shout out to you, sir. I told her that I got a poster that was showing roughly this exact same art piece. But it was fun talking to her about it, though. And, also to the late Dave Malo, may he rest in peace. But yeah, after that, then I went, shopping with my best friend after that. Okay, now that I got that geek part out of the way, now I get into what I did a little bit afterwards. I did a little bit of shopping with whatever limited amount of money I had left. And then I also did a bit of scavenger hunt. Now, did I want to go over to check out the cars? Yes, I did. But unfortunately, my brain was kind of like going in and out every now and then. After I did the scavenger hunt, did I still want to check out the cars? Yes. Did I do it? No. Otherwise, I would have posted it on here. But anyway, before I did the scavenger hunt, I was poking around trying to find my best friend. Eventually, we found each other, and I noticed he was doing a bit of a kind of like one of those gotcha quest things that some people do when it comes to purchasing certain stuff. So what happens with those is that if you're doing that scavenger hunt type of thing where you get like some additional prints um, as a reward for doing certain tasks. My best friend did show it to me what he got from there, as well as some of his purchases. One of them, for those of you guys who are wondering, yes, my best friend does play Honkai Star Rail as well. He also liked that particular segment with, Dr. Ratio. Those of you guys who watched the concert, you know where I'm getting at here. I don't have to go any further. He got a sticker for that. I'm not joking. There is a sticker for that. I forget the vendor, but it does exist. You know, Dr. Ratio in the bathtub. Well, it was in my brain. I was going to have to say it at some point just to provide context, but you get the idea. Anyway, that one vendor that he was at, eventually I stopped by and got something myself. Um, but the cool thing with this vendor is that with the gacha that they did, in order to get the critter, the cat critter, these little guys, I'll show you which ones I got. These for reference. Yeah, cat critters. These guys, yeah, they were in the game, but you get the idea. Anyway, the little keychains that this vendor has, quick shout out to Kirisaki Art, KIRISAKIIART. Those of you guys who are curious, quick shout out to the vendor. You can find them on Twitter, Instagram, as well as Etsy, provided the shop is still operative. But anyway, those critters that my best friend showed me, not the stickers, but the cat critters. The keychains are, yeah, I'm not joking, people. They are that tiny, super tiny. But the only way you get it is through the gacha, game, if you will. The way how the person did it, they had a container with sticks. Whichever one you pulled, that's the one you got. Price tag was roughly, correct me if I'm wrong, $13 roughly. I had a limited amount of money at that point, so I had to decide. Eventually, like I said, I settled with these stickers. After that, I then did the scavenger hunt. And this is also my best friend's first time doing those pins. So anyway, since I was only there on a Sunday, that means I don't get this. But like I said, there's always a bonus button part. However, in this case, the bonus button is any one of the other ones you didn't get from there. And obviously, I decided to do it. So as you can see, level 1, there is a Titan photo op, which means there's a blow-up balloon of those. Take a picture from there. Then level 2, Ash Ketchum, which means taking a selfie with the giant Charizard. The last one is actually a lot more simple. I only had to show them that I was following this particular profile on Instagram. Thank goodness I have it. So all I had to do, show it to them, and then I got it. That was probably the easiest one. Then you got, of course, the bonus button, taking a picture in their karaoke lounge located at the Marriott right across. So let's see how I actually did that, shall we? Okay, guys. So after I had that done, um, I knew I had a little bit of time left, but it took me a while trying to narrow it down. Quick shout out to the vendor Buki pins. For those of you guys who are wondering, they do have some pins as well as some magazine cover arts or prints in this case. You also have safe for work as well as not safe for work. That's what those the acronyms stand for. With regards to um, regular and spicy, anime characters, so to speak. As much as I want to show the little print, I will not. You can look it up yourself. It did only cost me $10 because I was going for a small one. Worth it in terms of which one I wanted to get. Just to let you guys know, I went for safe for work prints. As much as I wanted to do the other one, I'm a guy, I really don't care, but I was tempted. I was tempted, but I went with the safe for work one. But just to let you guys know, the one that I went with was from Near Automata 2B, of course. But yeah, that's the print I went with for $10. Overall, this was better for me compared to when I was over at Pasadena Comic Con. I am still working on that video, but thankfully I still have my notes ready for that. I will be uploading that soon, but anyway, that's just my vlog in terms of how my experience went for Anime Riverside for this year. Hope you guys enjoyed this. This has been Skyhound, also known as Xavier Pierce. Stay safe, stay sane, and as a good friend of mine always says, stay humble. Peace. Okay, guys, now just to let you guys know, I did go over this a little bit. These two characters, they're not mentioned in the manga, just like Inova was. In one of my videos, again, I bring up that fact. These characters, it's the first time that they've actually been put on paper because, in terms of the style. But again, I will be reading straight from the art book itself. The media that they use, they do kind of mention like the type as well as the grade. So in this case, it's Pigma 0.05. On some of them, they have a type called Copic, and then that's just a type of material that they use in terms of like, drawing the art. In this case, it's ink, and it's titled Rayearth Materials Collection Back Cover Art. Now, poster color, if they do not mention the type, oddly enough, sometimes they mention it is either gold or white. White, usually that means it's blank. That means they don't mention it. So you kind of get the idea. That's the presumption. Then the paper stock that they used is high quality paper. The description for this reads, this collection also included design work we produced for the anime. So we included Debonair and Nova, who only appear in the anime series. It was the first time we depicted them in color. So towards the end of these art books, they often go over which ones were put in there. Side note, for those of you guys who have the manga in like the smaller version done by Tokyo Pop, I used to have those back in the day, and yet the thickness, I would argue, is pretty much the same as it was with the hardcovers. The only difference is, again, with hardcovers, these books, these hard ones, they have more weight. So obviously it's going to be heavy, hence why they're hardcovers. The point being is that the artwork that they used is actually also shown in this art book. So I could read off the other ones if I wanted, but that'll be done for another video. just to give a little bit of context in terms of, which one of these were actual artworks that were not shown in, the anime and all of that. And then you got the ones that are straight, from this book. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, this has been Skyhound, also known as Xavier Pierce, Geek Archivist. As I said already before, stay safe, stay sane, and as a good friend of mine always said, stay humble. Peace.